pugilism company, home of the three-piece combos. What's going down? This is your boy Reed, the Blackbird Sugar. BBS. So yeah, let's get into the biggest fight of this weekend. Terence Crawford versus Jeff Horn for the WBO welterweight championship. There was pound for pound implications, whatnot. As such, that's what made it the biggest, most talked about fight of the weekend. And Terence Crawford absolutely shined. He showed up, he showed out. And regarding Mr. Horn, Mr. Jeff Horn, to quote Denny Green, former coach of the Minnesota Vikings, he was who we thought he was. Jeff Horn was who we thought he was. No, to be specific, he wasn't stopped in 6 or less, as I predicted. And that's attributed to how judicious Horn was being in engaging Terence Crawford. He bum rushed him like he was Manny Pacquiao in the first round or two, but Crawford quickly established with his southpaw jabs. Crawford came out southpaw. So he quickly established and maintained that distance he needed with his right jab. And therefore, when Horn got a little too close, Crawford pieced him up with crosses, with hooks, with body shots. And he was a lot stronger in the clinch than Jeff Horn anticipated. Backtracking a bit, I liked how Bud came out to 99.5. That classic old school song from the movie Breaking. But make no mistake, there was no dancing from him after that. Horn, for what it's worth, had that herky-jerky pop-locking type rhythm. That. But again, man, Crawford's southpaw jab kept him in check. For sure. Crawford not only held his own in the clinch, he controlled the clinches. And by the third round or so, I mean, the fight was basically a wrap. I'd said 6 or less and was really leaning towards like a 4th round stoppage. Well, by the 3rd round, it was apparent who was going to win. Crawford was comfortable, and Jeff Horn was in his back pocket, like for sure. Man, this was a master class from Terence Crawford. There's levels to this shit, y'all. There's levels to this shit. And what we saw was a wide gap in the level of technique, of skill, of boxing IQ. Like it was man against boy in that regard, despite the fact that Horn was the bigger man. Crawford hit him with everything. Lead left crosses to the head, to the solar plexus. Chopping left hooks to the head. Thudding left hooks to the body. Hard-ass right jabs. Right hooks, right uppercuts. I mean, he was double jabbing him. He was triple jabbing him. Like, for real, after the 3rd round, Horn was swollen and bleeding over his right eye, like after 3 rounds. After 3 whole rounds, that was where he was at. By the 4th, Horn was like blatantly leading with his head. He wasn't even masking it anymore. But like my man Sarge said, he was doing so. He was leading with his head off balance. Like his feet weren't set at all. And that's what made it fun for Crawford, who, like, by the 4th round, Crawford was openly not just smiling, but laughing in the ring. Like, he was toying with Jeff Horn by the 4th round. He ragdolled Horn in the 5th. He was like 2 hands shoving him. Like, if you ever saw George Foreman versus Joe Frazier, especially the first fight, just the way Foreman was shoving Frazier around the ring, Crawford was doing the bigger man, the so-called bigger, stronger man Horn like that. By round 5, TC briefly switched to orthodox in the 8th. I guess he said in the post-fight his trainer had wanted him to do such, but he quickly got back to the southpaw stance. Got to credit Horn for sure for his toughness. There was no quit in him. He kept trying. He just brought a butter knife to a gunfight. That was the long and short of it. The stoppage itself was a tad premature. But make no mistake, Jeff Horn was not going to withstand that same level of punishment he was getting round after round to the head and the body. He was not going to keep taking that for the 10th round and the 11th round and then the 12th round. It was only going to get worse, and it was not going the distance. Make no mistake about it. And for what it's worth, Horn didn't complain at all the moment the fight was stopped. He didn't complain at all. In the aftermath, in the post-fight interview, Crawford looked right at Bob Arum and said he wanted to fight all the dudes with belts. And, quote-unquote, Bob, let's make it happen. I don't know if that was just lip service or if that was Crawford's way of publicly demanding the fights at 147 that the fans want to see. It was a great performance for Bud, man. Horn, if nothing else, he was one of the more, if not the most physical man at 147. Now, we gauge that physicality against probably the smallest 147-pounder currently in Manny Pacquiao. So, a virtual 20-pound weight advantage that night when they fought, plus Horn's herky-jerky rhythm, plus his grappling tactics. It just all conspired. Even though I thought Pac won, or it was at least a draw, Pacquiao was still very much uncomfortable in that fight. Well, there was none of that in Crawford Horn. None of that. He looked like a welterweight fighting a welterweight. So we got Porter Garcia happening. So they're off the shelf. There's no way Keith Thurman, we don't even know where Keith Thurman's head is, but assuming he comes back and fights this year, I'm not sure he'd want to unify with Crawford. It's hard to trust Keith Thurman right now. He seems like a man who's satisfied and on his way out. And if that's the case, hey, brother, bon voyage. Enjoy the rest of your life. I'm not throwing shade on that at all. Just stop hijacking the division. Stop hijacking the division. You relinquished or you were stripped of the WBC belt, which Porter and Danny will be fighting for. But you still got the WBA, man. Dudes are trying to unify now. So let's not, and if you're not really about that life, then relinquish it, man. You just got married, got a beautiful wife. Hey, I won't begrudge you that, but let's not hold up the division anymore. Hopefully Bob Arum doesn't hold up the division, because it seems like Crawford, he wants to get in the mix. We'll see what's next. Jeff Horn, he'll get at least, he got his ass whooped last night. From the first time I spoke of this fight, I said Crawford would beat the brakes, the brake pads, the calipers, and the rotors off of Horn. And I wasn't wrong in that aspect of my prediction. That's exactly what transpired last night. If Horn was a vehicle, he'd be at the auto body shop right now as I speak, getting all that shit replaced. But he was brave, man. He was tough. I can see him milking at least one or two more decent paydays against a top 10, a top 15 level welterweight. He's not going to just be off the scene altogether. He won't just disappear, nor should he. He's shown that he deserves another fight or two on the worldwide scene, the worldwide scope of things, against a credible guy to see what he can do. Anyways, that's all on this particular fight, y'all. You know, we had a full schedule on June 9th, and we'll be following up with more on that date. From the home of the three-piece combos, Pugilism Company. This is Reed, BBS. Pugilism Company out.